Om Ayahi Varade Devi Raksare Brahmavadini Gayatri Chandasang Mata Brahmajani Namastute. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrittor Ma Amritangamaya Aviravir Maedhi Rudra Jati Dakshinamukham Tinamang Pahi Nityam Tinamang Pahi Nityam. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. O Divine Mother of the Universe, reveal Thyself in our heart and in our midst. We invoke Thy presence amidst us. Thou art the supreme word of the Scriptures. Thou art the embodiment of knowledge and liberation. Thou art the supreme bridge to immortality. Lead us from unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death, disease and suffering to immortality. Manifest Thyself in us through and through, and protect us with Thy compassionate face. Om peace, peace be unto us, peace be unto all living beings. Om Jananing Sharadang Deving Ramakrishna Jagadguru Padapadme Tayo Sritva Pranamami Muhur Muhur. We bow down to Mother Sarada and the great Master Ramakrishna. We take refuge at their feet and bow down to them over and over again. Om peace, peace be unto us, unto all living beings. Today we are observing the special service in honor of the birthday of Sri Sarada Devi, the Holy Mother. I welcome all of you on this auspicious day to our special service. Sri Sarada Devi, known to the millions of people far and wide as Holy Mother Sarada Devi. She was the wife and the spiritual companion of the great master Sri Ramakrishna, the 19th century God-man of India. Holy Mother Sarada Devi's life is unique. We have read the lives of the women saints and seers of the different countries of the world. Some were not married and laid their soul's pilgrimage to the domain of divinity by themselves. There were others who were married, but their husbands were of most worldly character, often devoid of common sense and devotion to God. These women saints had to live with those husbands, often tortured, ridiculed, tyrannized. Then there is the another category of women seers who were widows. Their husbands died early. As a result, often they had to give their soul's expression toward divinity within a very limited often unfavorable social and family circumstances, and trudge along the spiritual path and reach the summit of their goal. There were others who often had to live with many other adverse circumstances and reach their goal. Holy Mother Sarada Devi is different from any one of them. She was married to a husband who also was a God man. She saw in herself as the presence of the Mother of the universe. Also in her husband, she saw the same being. Her husband too saw in her the presence of the Supreme Divine God as Mother Kali. The two lived almost like a twin persons, two souls in one, singing the same melody, one at a point, the other at the counterpoint. The two were two handmaids of God, lived together and practiced their spiritual disciplines and devotions, both immersed in ecstasy, God consciousness, spiritual thrills to their highest order. Sri Ramakrishna's life, spiritual life, is like a mountain torrent, a tempestuous Atlantic Ocean. Sometimes profoundly calm, other times breaking up in the high billows of spiritual realizations. Holy Mother Sarada Devi's life we find like the profound, fathomless Pacific Ocean, rippleless, calm. One, in case of Sri Ramakrishna, if we think and believe that he was God incarnate, an incarnation, human form, is a disguise of God. The Supreme Almighty Lord, wearing a human disguise, descends on earth for his love for the world. Then, his disguise was not foolproof. Many a time, his divine form came out. The human form was not enough to cover the entire divine form. In case of Holy Mother Sarada Devi, the disguise was perfect. She came with her identity undisclosed. Almost she descended incognito. Sri Ramakrishna was tested by his disciples in various ways. Examples we find in the life of Swami Vivekananda, who tested him from the beginning until the end, until the last day, that whether he was God incarnate. As you know that just before death, Narendranath, that time, Swami Vivekananda, a thought came to his mind, even in this bitter pain of the last moment of life, he could declare that he is God, then I would believe. As soon as the thought crossed his mind, Sri Ramakrishna, who was reduced to skin and bone at the time because of cancer, looked at him straight. He said, still in doubt. One who was Rama, who was Krishna, In this form he is Ramakrishna, verily. Balaram, one of his devoted householder disciples, who had great and unwavering faith in the Master, even he tasted. Once Balaram, coming from Calcutta, buying very delicious sweets for offering. Then, out of the number of sweets, in order to test the omniscience of Sri Ramakrishna, he mentally selected 2 sweets out of a dozen or so, and thought, if when taken to Sri Ramakrishna, he picks up those 2, fulfilling his heart's desire, then he would believe. When Balaram came, saluted the Master, offered the sweets in front of him, Sri Ramakrishna looked at him and smiled and picked up those very sweets which he mentally selected. We find in the lives of other disciples also, they tested. But to Holy Mother Sarada Devi, did anybody test her spiritual eminence? We do not have any record. Like little children, his mighty disciples surrendered themselves to her feet without any question. The idea of testing never came. The great Swami Brahmananda is looked upon as the spiritual son of Sri Ramakrishna. When he would come to see Holy Mother Sarada Devi, his feet would tremble. He would be like a little child. His words would be choked. He would be fearful, or often in deep emotion would be unable to utter a word. The great Swami Vivekananda also, when he would come, he would sprinkle Ganges water on his head, and he would be like a little boy, asking not any particular question. Before coming to the Parliament of Religions from his wandering days, when he came to salute the Mother and seek her blessings, Mother said, "May you come back in triumph, my son. May Goddess Saraswati, the deity, divinity of wisdom, remain seated on the tip of your tongue." That blessing was enough. In cases of, we find other disciples asking Sri Ramakrishna for trance, devotion, knowledge, purity. But what did they expect from Holy Mother Sarada Devi? What was the attraction? Their attraction was her great love. If she would put her hands on the head of any of her devotees, then the devotee would feel the most blessed and fortunate soul, excelling the highest angel of the high heaven. These are the 2 characteristics, the counterpoint and the point we find in the life of Holy Mother. Sri Ramakrishna's life, as we know, at one particular phase, we find the appearance of Holy Mother. At one stage of his spiritual practices, Sri Ramakrishna living in the temple garden of Dakshineshwara, passing his days in great agony for the vision of God. These austerities, when we study them, in comparison with these austerities, other austerities of other saints, prophets and seers of the various traditions, they pale into insignificance. Days would pass in great agony for the vision of God. Sri Ramakrishna would rub his face on the ground. There would be profuse bleeding, sometimes remaining inert in deepest absorption, sometimes forgetful of his wearing clothes, moving around. Seeing this, people, the officers, the employees of the temple, they considered the priest had gone insane. Words travel. They traveled to the native village of Sri Ramakrishna and reached his mother's ears. Sri Ramakrishna's mother, a guileless, simple-hearted lady, felt bitter pain hearing that her son had gone insane. And often, when the words travel, they become fabricated. Words reach there that he moves around naked, shouts sometimes in joy, sometimes bursts into utter cry, rubs his face against the ground and bleeds, and day and night calling, "O mother, grant me your vision." Eats the livings of people, often with a bamboo stick on his shoulder, moves around, although these facts were not true, because rumors have great power to what you call spread. Relatives, friends, and the mother, they thought that perhaps a marriage with a suitable girl will put an end to this insanity. That was the idea of marriage came. And naturally a search was made. But we find at that time Sri Ramakrishna also visited his native village. But they could find nowhere a suitable girl to be married to Sri Ramakrishna. Finally, Sri Ramakrishna gave the clue that in such and such village there is a girl who is earmarked to be his bride. The messengers came, matchmakers arrived, and the marriage was arranged. It was the time when the marriage used to be more a betrothal than a marriage in the sense we know. Marriage happened. But marriage, instead of quelling the divine frenzy, it increased millionfold. So the girl to whom Sri Ramakrishna got married brought in a great spiritual fire, multiplied Sri Ramakrishna's divine frenzy to a millionfold. This girl was Sarada Devi. Marriage also, as the husband indicated the earmarked bride, wife also at one point, long before, indicated her earmarked husband. Event is there. When Sarada Devi was in a native village, a little baby on the lap of their parents came to witness a spiritual discourse in a temple. It was in the village of his nephew Hriday, an attendant. Hundreds of people came. When the discourse ended, Holy Mother's mother, or maybe a relative who was carrying the child, jocosely asked her, "Among these people, who you think would be your husband?" Curiously enough, the little child, pointing out with her tiny hand, indicated towards Sri Ramakrishna that he would be her husband in future. It was as if a divine arrangement. It happens, we find in the lives of the other great prophets and seers. Question may come, why a prophet of modern times got himself married? Purpose, we may only think to restore the sanctity of the institution of marriage. Marriage is an opportunity to practice spiritual virtues, to apply them in life, and it is a great help in the spiritual path if it is taken in its proper perspective. From the point of view of Hindu scriptures, as you know, they speak of the 4 stages of life. Brahmacharya, Garhastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. Goal is the divine supreme goal of life. That goal is to be reached stage by stage. In the first stage, a person is exhorted to cultivate virtues and qualities, both secular and sacred. Secular education is necessary to earn money, to make wealth, because material values, when neglected, spiritual values fall down. But material values are not enough. So the person must also master the spiritual virtues. By entering into family life, a person learns to expand himself or herself, because man is a person who is not an isolated being, he is a social being. He lives in the midst of others. He must learn to share with others. His happiness is dependent on the happiness of other persons. Hence, marriage was looked upon neither as a concession to weakness nor as a confession of sin. It was a spiritual companionship. The wife in Hindu scriptures is mentioned as Sahadharmini, co-participant in spiritual practices and virtues. After that, when a person reaches 50, after living a full-blooded life, both husband and wife, making worldly attainments and being established comfortably in the spiritual virtues, he reaches 50, his hair turns grey, skin gets wrinkled, he is advised to enter into the third stage of life, which is called Vanaprastha, living in seclusion, away from the humdrum of everyday family life, living apart from the family and leaving the duties to the juniors. Husband and wife are exhorted to practice detachment, contemplation of God, making themselves ready for the final departure. Life is a passing stage. We come on earth, live on a number of years, fulfill a goal, and proceed toward our destiny. That is the goal. It is like the sun. The sun rises in the east with its glow of the morning. It reaches a great figure when it is forenoon. By noon, it reaches its full blossoming. Then comes the afternoon. It begins to shed a mellowed light. Finally, leaving a glow of mellowed light in the western horizon, the sun disappears in order to shine in another part of the world. Similarly, we are born, we attain maturity, youth, adulthood. Then we practice virtues and values. We perform our duties. Then we get ready for the next call. We must move on. Sri Ramakrishna, through his marriage, he wanted to demonstrate this goal of humanity and its stage-by-stage progress, and to prove that world, husband, family, wealth, relations, they are not impediments to God's realizations, provided they are taken in their proper perspective. Be that what it may. We find that Sarada Devi came in Sri Ramakrishna's life as his companion. Mother Sarada Devi lived in the village of Jairambati, which is about 3 miles from Sri Ramakrishna's birthplace. She recalls in one of her memoirs that my father, Ramchandra Mukhopadhyay, and my mother, Samasundari Devi, they were devout people, they were worshippers of Rama, charitable to their core, sweetness and compassion incarnate. That is why in their house I was born. Also, we find that her birth was of a divine nature, as we find in the cases of other saints and prophets. It is said, one day when her mother went for ablution in the evening, and she was there sitting, all of a sudden she felt a little girl clasps her neck and told her that she would be coming to their family. The child was born. From the very birth, Sarada was an embodiment of compassion, sweetness, and purity. She helped the household. Whenever there was anybody suffering, be it a human being or an animal, a cow or a dog, she would be restless to come to its rescue. She would find profound joy in feeding others, alleviating the pains of others in her childish manner. In this way she began to grow. In the meanwhile, we find Sri Ramakrishna returned to Dakshineswar with his million times increased divine frenzy. Again, we find the rumor went to the village. People began to ridicule Sarada and her parents, that Sarada got married to a lunatic. What a pity. A girl married to a lunatic person who moves around naked, carrying a bamboo on his shoulder, eating here and there, not observing the caste rules and the orthodoxies of a Brahmin family. In this way, when it happened, Sarada, she was greatly at pain to hear. She used to avoid those people who used to live on those gossips and rumors. Finally, at one point, she thought she would come direct and see her husband. Meanwhile, before that, Sarada Devi had the opportunity to see her husband when Sri Ramakrishna visited his native village. That time, she saw that her husband was far from being a lunatic, rather a God-man of divine qualities and profound love. She wanted now to verify with her own eyes what the actual matter was. Walking all the way, about 60 miles, braving many dangers, she arrived at the Dakshineswar Kali temple where Sri Ramakrishna was living. When she came, Sri Ramakrishna, with great love, welcomed her. He said, "Ah, you have come," and received her with utmost kindness and care, like an ideal husband, made arrangements for her stay. Since then, up to 1886, long about 15 years, with intermittent departures to her native village, Sarada Devi lived at the Kali temple of Dakshineswar as constant companion and a shadow of the God-man Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna, after receiving her with great kindness, began to train her in various ways. And about this time, we find Sri Ramakrishna wanted to conclude his spiritual practices by worshipping Sarada Devi, his wife, as the embodiment of Mother Kali and the divine, and literally observing all orthodoxies of worship one night, taking Sarada Devi as the living image of the divine Mother of the universe, began worship, invoking in her the great power, the great knowledge, and the great purity. The priest, the worshipper, was Sri Ramakrishna, and the deity was Sarada Devi, seated on a seat in front of him. The whole night the worship went on. Sri Ramakrishna went into ecstasy, uttering the sacred words, invoking the living divine Mother in her. He prayed that may Mother appear in her full power and glory, May all taints of impurity, if there be any, they all go. May she be a walking, moving, a mobile form of the Divine Mother. And he offered his rosaries and all other spiritual practices, articles, at the feet of Holy Mother Sarada Devi. We do not find any example in any other religious tradition where a prophet worshipped literally his wife or any other form. Holy Mother Sarada Devi, it is said, while living in this period with her husband, one day asked her husband that, how do you look upon me? To that, Sri Ramakrishna gave the reply that the mother who is worshipped in the temple, mother who gave birth to this body, that time Sri Ramakrishna's mother Chandramani Devi also was living in the temple, present in a room. It is the same mother who is now near me, massaging my feet. That was Sri Ramakrishna's reply. Once again, he asked, have you come to drag me down? To that, Sarada Devi's befitting reply was, why shall I drag you down? I have come to be your companion, to help you in your spiritual journey. The two souls lived together long 14 years. We do not find any definite record of spiritual practices and austerities of Holy Mother Sarada Devi. But we do have evidences, if not scripture, but more tangible, those who saw, those who were nearby. These austerities and practices are so great that in comparison with them, other austerities proved to be nothing. For 14 years she lived in a small room, maybe 8 by 10. The roof also, the ceiling was low. Within that, not only she would live, but often women visitors also used to come and they used to stay. She, following the purda or the custom of the time, as a Hindu woman, always used to be in veils. The temple people said that although she lived 14 years in the temple, nobody ever saw her in the temple area. She used to wake up daily at 3 o'clock in the morning, take her dip in the Ganges, and spend the whole day in prayer, contemplation, studies, and service of the Master. Often he would not drink a drop of water until she had completed her 100,000 times of repetition of the names of God. Master's care was her main spiritual practice. The physical care of Sri Ramakrishna, that was her worship, that was her austerity, that was her prayer. In this way, days passed. She recalls that often in these days, mind is to remain immersed in profound bliss. If Sri Ramakrishna practiced spiritual practices for divine ecstasy, Holy Mother practiced those in order to set example before others. She was born with perfection, born with knowledge, born with supreme attainment. If any austerity, if any spiritual practice, these were to set examples for others. After long 14 years, we find during this Sri Ramakrishna passed away in 1886. Before that, Sri Ramakrishna wanted the power which he invoked in her, the deity, the divinity which was awakened, its manifestation. It began to gradually manifest indeed. We find in some of the incidents and occurrences. One few examples that Sri Ramakrishna used to daily had his simple diet. and diet was to be carried to him by Holy Mother herself. People by the time began to come to Sri Ramakrishna in large number. Often they were not of all pure character. It is said that at one day a lady came when Holy Mother was to carry the food to the master's room. She wanted to carry the food to the master that day and asked, addressing her, the mother, today I want to feed the master. Please let me have this opportunity. Holy Mother gave that. To that, Sri Ramakrishna later on became very upset. And he said, why did you send food to that woman? Don't you know her character? Could you not fathom? To that, Holy Mother said that, Master, you are the master of all, and your blessings are being asked for by all. When anybody asks me anything, addressing me as mother, I cannot withhold any blessing or any opportunity from that person. Today you have to eat this. Sri Ramakrishna, although grumbled but acceded to the request, felt also glad that she is gradually asserting her divinity. Another example, Sri Ramakrishna's disciples, intimate disciples who are being trained as being to be the future teachers of humanity. Narendranath, Babu Ram, another of his disciples, later Swami Premanand. Each one was being trained meticulously in the renunciation, self-control, food, diet. Each one had a quota of food. Babu Ram had the quota of 4 pieces of bread. Rakhal, later Swami Brahmananda, 6 pieces of bread. Naturally, young man, 4 pieces of bread was not enough. While eating, that one day Holy Mother Sarada Devi served him few pieces of bread extra. Not only quota, Sri Ramakrishna, after having the supper, when they used to come to him, he used to examine how many pieces you ate today. One day Babu Ram told him that he ate 6 pieces of bread. Sri Ramakrishna became very grave and upset and ran to the Nahabad, the room where Holy Mother used to live, that you are spoiling their spiritual future. His quota is 4 pieces, but you gave him 6 today. Holy Mother's reply was that why you fuss about the eating of my sons? I will take care of their spiritual future. You won't have to think of that. Sri Ramakrishna, although upset visibly, but smiled that she is gradually taking the responsibility of the spiritual future of her devotees. Then we find that Mother, in this way, gradually and gradually, taking the image of a living divinity and bestowing her blessings and grace to others. The great master, we find, gradually passed away. Before that, he asked Holy Mother Sarada Devi that, won't you do anything for people? Will this only do? Sri Ramakrishna could never say about himself, I. To that, Holy Mother said that I am a mere woman. What can I do in spiritual ministry? To that, he said, you will have to do many things in future. People of Calcutta and around, they live like worms, day and night, immersed in worldliness, in lust and greed. You must help them, do something for them. The great master passed away. When we find Sri Ramakrishna passed away the day, Holy Mother ran to Sri Ramakrishna's room, fell down on the floor, uttering, "Oh Mother Kali, why did you leave me alone here and pass?" That was the only time we find what Holy Mother used to look upon Sri Ramakrishna. One day we find, before that, his nephew Hriday, who out of joke asked Holy Mother that to the master, Some call Father, some call God. What you call him? Can you call him Father? To that Holy Mother said, why Father? Father, Mother, Son, God, everything I can call. That was the relationship between the two. We find that after Sri Ramakrishna's passing away, Holy Mother Sarada Devi's life began a new chapter. The day Sri Ramakrishna passed away, Holy Mother Sarada Devi, following the local customs, put on widow's dress. Generally Hindu widows at that time of the 19th century, following rigorous rules, they put on austere dress, do not use ornaments, cut their hair like crew cut, and live a very austere life. When Holy Mother was taking off her bangles, which Ramakrishna made for her, Sri Ramakrishna appeared before her. It was not a dream or a vision of imagination. With bare eyes, Sri Ramakrishna said, why you are weeping so much? Why you are putting on widow's dress? Do not do it. Where have I gone? I have only passed from one room to another. Do not do it. Master's passing created a great void in the life of Holy Mother. The companion, the master, the worshipped ideal, now gone. Separation became unbearable. Mind began to soar high. A period of great anguish began. But occasionally the reassurances came. Holy Mother began to have visions of Sri Ramakrishna with bare eyes, assuring her about the course of events, about the role to be played by her, and gave her guidance. Holy Mother Sarada Devi, at this phase, she went on a pilgrimage with the help of the devotees. In many places, particularly Vrindavan, she practiced great austerities, remained in God absorption for many days. After that, we find she returned to her husband's native village, Kamarpukur. Sri Ramakrishna was an ideal husband. As a duty of the husband, he did every bit what a husband should do. We find even when his mind was soaring high in the divine ecstasies, he did not forget the duty of a husband to the wife. Even Sri Ramakrishna, who could not touch money, asked some devotees to collect some 500 or 600 rupees for Holy Mother who will live in future. And asked the devotees, don't you think with 600 rupees a person can spend her days and in maintenance? Also, he made one gold bangle for Holy Mother. He asked in every step that if you agree, then I follow this spiritual course. Taking her permission, he did everything in his spiritual life. We find Holy Mother now in Kamarpukur. Sri Ramakrishna instructed that after I am gone, live in the village and live by your own. Give everybody whatever you can, whatever you have, but never stretch your hand to others. Live in your own place. You may for some time live on the food of others' charity, but never stay in another person's house. So live with simple food by your own effort and spend the days in prayer and taking the name of God. This period in the Holy Mother's life was a period of utter privation and poverty. All the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, they were on their wandering days with burning renunciation. Householder devotees, they also forgot for the time being Holy Mother Sarada Devi. For many of them, she was just the wife of the Guru. Many were not able to fathom her greatness, except his monastic disciples. Holy Mother passed her days. Often she had to stitch her own clothes. There was no second pair or second piece. Often she had to grow her own spinach, and often she had to go many days only rice, even without a pinch of salt. In this way, she lived many months. Then we find Sri Ramakrishna's monastic disciples, Narendranath and others, first came to know about her privation, and they implored her to come to Calcutta. But custom in the villages was hard. One is what we read now, and one is what was at that time. A Hindu widow going to live with some other people not related. It was not always a straightforward matter. In the villages, there are Mrs. Grundys. Their criticism and censorship not easy to overcome. Holy Mother consulted the village elderly ladies whether it would be proper to go. And some of them said, and some of them accompanied her. So, accompanied by several women devotees, she came and stayed here and there in rented houses arranged by the direct disciples of the Master. At that time, we find the Sri Ramakrishna's direct disciples like Balaram Basu aimed the chronicle of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Then Narendranath and other disciples, they took a leading part in making Mother's life comfortable. After the period of anguish came to an end, Holy Mother, we find in each place she practiced great austerities. That time we find that she used to have intermittent vision of Sri Ramakrishna. At that very time, while during pilgrimage, Holy Mother visited Vrindavan, Bodha Gaya, a place where she saw that a big Buddhistic monastery of the Buddhistic order, where monks lived happily and in comfort and affluence. Seeing that, Holy Mother prayed to Sri Ramakrishna that, Master, my children are wandering here and there without having a place to put their head. Can you not make something for them as these monks here they live? That prayer gradually took the effect. In the meanwhile, Sri Ramakrishna's disciples acquired a dilapidated house on the outskirts of Calcutta, and the founding of the Ramakrishna order began there. At that time, the Belud Mart, where the main monastery was there, was not at all there. But Holy Mother indicated, while she lived in the Belud village, she so often saw Sri Ramakrishna sitting in a hut in that very spot inside the banana grove. And she realized that something must be coming up there by the Master's will. In fact, in future, later, Swami Vivekananda bought that very plot where the present Belud Mart is established. When the Belud Mart was founded, Swami Vivekananda brought Holy Mother to the Belud Mart. And she stayed there, blessed, moved around the ground, and said that I bless this place. Here Master would be seated for many, many, many years for the good of his devotees, for the happiness of his devotees. Holy Mother's spiritual ministry, we find, at that time, it began. In the role of a teacher, we find Holy Mother was an awakener of souls. She did not preach. She seldom talked with others. She used to remain in veils. Even with the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, she only talked with one or two directly, rest through an intermediary. And all the time there was a veil. Indeed, many think that she kept her divinity hidden behind her veil. But her ministry was not preaching, not even teaching, but bestowing of grace. She was an embodiment of grace. through a word, by giving a sacred name, she taught. By her will, she awakened the divinity of a person. Such was a powerful personality. She said that she was the real mother. To some devotee who asked Girish Chandra Ghosh, Sri Ramakrishna's direct disciple, a dramatist, an orator, one day, Girish never saw Sarada Devi face to face, always from a distance. When he came to Jairambadi, her native village where Holy Mother used to be rather free, one day he saluted and saw the Mother directly. Before that he saw, at a very crisis moment of his life, almost on the deathbed, he saw in a vision a woman figure, divine, standing before him and giving him something to eat and saying that you will be all right, don't worry. After many years, when he saw Holy Mother Sarada Devi, Girish recalled it was this divine figure which he saw in his vision at that tragic moment of his life. Girish, with folded hands, asked, "Are you my real mother?" To that, Holy Mother gave the reply, "Yes, my son. I am not your foster mother. I am not your godmother. I am not your mother by the relationship as I am your guru's wife, but I am your real mother." The word silenced him. This, Holy Mother said, that I am the mother of the virtuous. I am the mother of the wicked. Whenever you are in trouble, in danger, remember this word of assurance that I have a mother. She taught through her love. She taught through her grace. People, those who came to see her, they never inquired about her divinity. An all-powerful, engulfing love completely overwhelmed them. Those who, at a distance, looked upon her as divinity incarnate, many came seeking grace, seeking her blessings. Once, one of her disciples asked, rather she was Sri Ramakrishna's disciple, that Mother, Master used to love us so intensely. Compared to his love, I don't think your love can be like that. To that, Mother said, well, Master chose his disciples after testing. He selected after much examination. But what he has given me, he has thrown toward me a row of ants. They come to me. Some say I am suffering from this. Some say that I want that. They have no control. Some have 10, 20 children. They do not have money to feed, but they have no self-control. But they come here, seeking my blessing. I cannot say no to them. Anybody who comes, asks me, looking upon me as their mother, I have to do it. This is my goal. Body will one day disintegrate, but let this body go in giving solace to the people who seek refuge in the Master. She said that those who pray to me, I have to stand by them. Those who take refuge in the Master, he will come to take them, to lead them by the hand at the hour of death. To the householder devotees, she gave assurance. Why you worry so much? You take the name of the Master. To some, she said, you saw the Master. What else do you need? Why do you fear? No matter what you do, what you think, Master will come in the end
to take you by the hand. These are his own words. If he does not do this, he would commit sin. These very words he said. To some householder devotees, worshipper of personal God, she said, do not be bothered about the future and hereafter. Master has built a new heaven, Ramakrishna Loko. You will go there, live in eternal happiness, in company with the Master. To those who were worshippers of Advaita Brahman, non-dual, formless, he said, Master for you will show you a wide doorway of eternal bliss that you will attain. You do not need to do anything. Many devotees, seekers, small and big, they came. Some worshipped her, literally with all observances, following ritual. Some chanted hymns sitting before him. Some uttered mantras. Some came, just saluted, looked upon her as their own mother. She received the worship of both kinds in the same spirit. She knew that different children call upon their father and mother in different ways, but the spirit remains the same. This long ministry, we find, continued, bestowing her grace. Her teaching was bestowing her grace and nothing more than that. We find to the devotees of the Mother, she said, that you must achieve your goal by your effort. You do what you can do, but grace is assured for you. There are some incidents. There in the mother's house, there used to live a person like Chandra Babu. Chandra Babu was an elderly man and very devoted to the mother. In fact, he came from East Bengal. He was so poor, there was nothing in the house. He had a big family, and somehow she got a stay in Holy Mother's house in Calcutta. A simple-hearted, devout person. And Holy Mother used to be very frankly talking to him, and he used to run errands for the Holy Mother. It is said that once the Swamis downstairs told Chandra Babu. Chandra Babu used to be very fond of prasad, sweets and other things, and Mother used to give very liberally these sweets and prasads. One day, the Swamis told him that, Chandra Babu, you are missing a great opportunity. You do not know. Holy Mother can grant you liberation, knowledge, highest heaven, if you just ask her. Can you ask right now, go upstairs and tell Holy Mother that, Mother, I want liberation? Chandra Babu said, that is nothing. I can right now go. So everybody inspired him. Chandra Babu went upstairs. Holy Mother was seated in her worship. When she would be withdrawn, no one dared to come and utter a word before her. Chandra Babu went. Seeing Holy Mother in the prayer room, his legs began to tremble. Holy Mother looked at him, asked, Chandra, my son, what do you want? Chandra Babu blurted out, Mother, prasad. Instead of asking for liberation, she said, Mother said, go beneath the bed, there are sweets, you take whatever you like. This is, even though opportunities came, it is not easy unless the time has come. So Chandra Babu was rest content with the prasad, we find. Holy Mother's love for the devotees transcended all bounds, but she had a special love for her monastic children. She could bear not even a single slight to those who have renounced everything for the sake of Sri Ramakrishna. She used to say that with whom shall I live except with those who have renounced everything for the sake of God. To some he said that, my son, those who depend on the Master and live their days, they are sitting, reclining their back on God Himself. They are living gods on earth. Has a special liking and blessing for them. Thus, we find up to the end she distributed her blessings in 100 ways with her two hands to both her monastic and lay disciples. Holy Mother Sarada Devi, we find during her spiritual ministry a personality, a blend of the divine and the human. As a divinity, she bestowed her grace and blessings. She said that those who are devotees of the Master, those who take his name, think of him, those who have received my blessings, their final liberation is assured. This will be their last birth. Even the providence has no power to put my children into danger. That was her firm assurance. On the other hand, as a human personality, she was a simple-hearted village lady. She also often used to be afraid of ghosts and hobgoblins. An hurricane lantern was a terrible piece of technology for her. Tap water, she even would not know how the water comes. Due to the air vacuum, when it makes sound, Holy Mother thought some snake is sitting there and hissing inside. These are our human twilights, a beautiful oscillation between the human and the divine. Her teachings, we find, these are few words about her teaching. She said, if you do not pray to God, that is, what is that to him? It is only your misfortune. Practice meditation. By and by your mind will be so calm and fixed that you will find it hard to keep away from meditation. Next, one cannot escape the effect of one's past karma, but if a person lives a prayerful life, he gets off with only the prick of a thorn in the leg where he was to suffer from a deep cut. What else does one obtain by realization of God? Does one grow two horns? No, the mind becomes pure, and through a pure mind one attains knowledge and awakening. Someone questioned, Mother, I am coming to you so frequently, and I hope I have received your grace, but I do not feel anything. Mother answered, my child, suppose you are asleep on a bed, and someone removes you with the bed to another place. In that case, will you know immediately on waking that you have come to a new place? Not at all. Only after your drowsiness clears away completely will you know that you have come to a new place. Even the injunctions of destiny are cancelled if one takes refuge in God. Destiny strikes off with her own hands what she has written about such a person. Sri Ramakrishna has left me behind to manifest the motherhood of God to the world. If you pray to him constantly before his picture, then he manifests himself through that picture. The place where that picture is kept becomes a shrine. These are her words of simple teaching. Her spiritual ministry gradually came to an end. The burden of taking the sins of others upon himself, which is an avatar does, became too heavy for her frail human form. She contracted a disease called Kala Azar. That time there was no medicine or cure for that disease. In many places, many times she said that this body, my son, is a divine body. I do not recall that even a bad thought crossed through this mind. Why then this ailment and suffering? Because people come, ask me, Mother, help me, give your grace. I, being their mother, cannot help but to do that. Many come, they would not practice any spiritual discipline. They live impure life. They come here and pour all their sins on me. I have to take that because I am their mother. Who else can do it? And what else can the mother do than to do this? So this body is suffering. This body, this form, nobody will know its real identity. People will know about it when the body is gone, the form is gone and form has disappeared. The burden of sin gradually began to be heavy. She contracted this fatal disease, Kala-Azar. Various treatments were arranged, but baffling everything, her ailment considerably grew serious proportion. Gradually she became emaciated, but until the end, she always looked to the welfare of all those who came, even up to the last, when anybody came for blessings, receiving initiation. She often kept the disease as secret and gave her blessings to that person and sent him home happy and smiling. Disciples of Sri Ramakrishna arranged in all forms of spiritual practices, austerities, prayers and worship for her cure. But nothing came to be of any help. Gradually her health began to go slowly down. At last we find, at the age of 66 years, 7 months, Holy Mother Sarada Devi gradually came to a state where she would leave the world. Last 2 days, she was in a deep trance-like condition. Nobody dared to break that solemn silence or wanted to break by asking her anything. She said that I hear the call of the Master. The Master asked me to live in the world, keep my mind engaged, depending on a little child, Radhu. Radhu was the daughter of Holy Mother's one of the brother, whose mother was insane. But Sri Ramakrishna indicated that occupy your mind in the welfare of this child and live in the world. Otherwise, Holy Mother probably would have left the world long before. Toward the end, she said that even when I suffered from malarial fever, whenever I wanted to see the Master, Master appeared before me. But now, I do not see him often. Probably Master does not want me to continue here anymore. I am anxious to return. The last stage of life, she withdrew all her mind from all occupations, from all the children, all the relatives to whom she was so fond of. She said, I have withdrawn my mind for certain and for final. This mind will not come down anymore. Last 2 days, she was in deep trance and samadhi-like condition. Finally, at 1:30, 1920, July 21st, she entered into Mahasamadhi. The body, which was emaciated, suddenly relaxed, gave out a celestial light. Many of the devotees who are present, even now some of them are present, including Swami Adiswarananda, who was the founder of this center and was a direct disciple of Holy Mother. I have heard from him. A light filled the room. A celestial light filled the room. Peace-eyed slumber fell upon her body. Many of the devotees present were deceived by that light and thought she was still there with them. But the end came. Today, after that, we find that after her body was what he called she died, her body was brought to Belur Math, where the present temple of Holy Mother is there, where their body was cremated. A funeral pyre was arranged. The news spread like wildfire. thousands of people came to Belur Math. In a funeral pyre, the body was put, the fire was lighted. At that time, we find on the other bank of the Ganges, heavy rain was going, but not a drop on this side. As soon as the cremation became over, rains came in torrents and extinguished the last embers. Today, in memory of Holy Mother, there are 3 shrines. One, the Holy Mother house in Calcutta, Bagh Bazar. Another, the Holy Mother temple, where her body was cremated at Belur Math. And the third, at Jairam Bati, her birthplace. In the top of that temple, Jairam Bati, there flutters a flag where it is emblazoned the simple word Ma, giving a repeated assurance to her devotees far and near that I am the mother of the virtuous, I am the mother of the wicked. And her benediction that whenever you are in danger, difficulty, privation, remember that I have a mother. May Mother Sarada Devi bless all of us on this auspicious day. Om Jananing Saradang Deving Ramakrishnan Jagadgurung Padapadme Tayo Sritva Pranamami Muhur Muhur. We bow down to Mother Sarada and the great Master Sri Ramakrishna. We take refuge at their feet and bow down to them over and over again. Om, peace, peace be unto us, peace be unto all living beings.